I won't give you a big song and dance. I really, really like this game. It is not a great game if it doesn't have the Star Wars license. So go in knowing that. If you don't really care for Star Wars, this is probably not for you. I'd be stunned if you like this. If you are not a big Star Wars fan of the classic Star Wars era and that vibe, this may not be for you. If you love the original Star Wars movies, if you love some of the shows like Ben Kenobi and all that, this is really great with the caveat of my earlier video, which is it's not that it even there are forced stealth segments in this game that are disgusting. If you take the time to learn and go in the tutorials to figure out how to work with Nix, it's not so bad. But the game does a really poor job of making that clear. That aside, though, everything is subpar in terms of... Sounds great, Jaffe. Just listen. Come on. Hey, by the way, this stream, it's really not sponsored by Sun Chips, but I got Sun Chips. When's the last time you had Sun Chips? They're really good. Remember these? Oh, so good. Anyway, the shooting is okay. The platforming is very confusing because you don't really know what you can interact with. It's not as bad, of course, as Wukong, where there's tons of invisible walls. It's just that you're like, sometimes you can jump and grab a ledge that doesn't have a visual cue on it, which is fine. And other times, even though I'm sure the math is correct, like, oh, that's X pixels above where you can grab or where the collision volume is, it doesn't look that way. So, the platforming and the navigation on foot is kind of chunky at times, clunky. The stealth is not good. I mean, I love games that are like that have good stealth in them, if that's not my only option. But it doesn't have that many multiple ways to solve the stealth sections like an Arcane game or a Team Me game like Desperados 3. You can't drag the bodies and throw them in bushes and throw them over ledges. So wherever you knock out a guard, that's where he's going to lay, which means if someone else has a foot patrol in that area, you're pretty much fucked. Or at least they're going to see him. So that's not great. As you level up your character, it's kind of weird to me that Kay, the character, starts as... I don't mind narratively she starts kind of as a neophyte, as a newbie, but you buy a Star Wars game that promises you can be a scoundrel and a rogue and whatnot. Let me at least have fun with that right out the gate. Don't confine me to stealth missions for the first, or at least a couple of them in the first couple hours. It takes a while to give you the stuff, and I don't like that. I think that's a failure of design in this game, but I don't care because this game gives you the Star Wars fantasy deliciously. And if you love that, and I do, it's awesome. And I get it. I'm judging it. The brand is doing a lot of the heavy lifting and the execution of the brand in the game. The way that the graphics, although this is not the best looking Ubisoft game, Avatar from last year trounces this game. I'm playing this on my GeForce Now, everything cranked up. It does not look great. It doesn't look bad, but it stutters a bit, not because it's streaming, just because it stutters. I have it locally and I played it both. Stutters a bit. It even cranked all the way up. It looks decent, not amazing. But the stuff that they execute, the stormtroopers, the cool stormtrooper transports, a lot of the interior of the Imperial sections look just like the Death Star interior from 1977. It's just really cool to be in the world. It's really cool to have a new character in this world that's so well realized. So if that's what you're into, fuck yeah. You're going to love it. I'm loving it. I've played so far for 14 hours. I'm totally gone off the main path now. I've been at 28% of the main story for about 5 hours now because I'm just enjoying being in the world. The ship combat is not great. It's fine. It's really, if you take Star Wars out of it, it's a solid 5 out of 10. If you love Star Wars and you put the Star Wars in, it's an 8.5. It's something that I am eager to keep coming back to and playing, even though I have other things I need to do. I want to talk about the main character. I don't know. I mostly don't know where this game is getting this reputation for being woke. I'm just so fucking tired of these people. Fuck you, you idiots. It's like Kay Vass is her name. There are technical issues with all the visuals of the characters. Kay Vass, in a cutscene, she steps out and the wind is blowing and her hair starts changing color and texture. Sometimes her face looks super cute. Sometimes it looks like there's no lighting. It's not like a Virtua Fighter character all flat shaded, but it's like, what happened to the material, the texture of her face? It's gone. And it's, how much of that people are responding to, I don't know. But what I can tell you is when she's lit well, and again, this is not a deal breaker for me. She could be a fucking, I could be playing Jabba the Hutt. I don't give a shit. But in this case, she is super cute. She's not Stellar Blade. She's not super sexy, voluptuous, but she's a cute girl next door-ish kind of girl, works on your car. But when she wipes the smudge off her face in the romantic comedy, it's like, holy shit, I love her. That's the kind of character she is. She's a little spunky fire spark. But, and she's also very likable. There's a scene in the game where she is, she does such a good job with this Nyx character, her little pet buddy, co-pilot, whatever the fuck it is. The performance of the actress is great. The writing of her is pretty darn good. How her and Nyx relate together. There's a great scene in the game where you can order food for him and her, and they're sitting in this like cantina, and there's mini games as they eat the food. It's super cute, and she just has these little lines she tosses out when he jumps on her shoulder, like, "Hey, buddy," and okay, he wants to go do stuff, and she's like, "Okay, I'm doing this mission right now. We'll get to that later." It's a very sweet little relationship. She's appealing. She's attractive in numerous ways. The only thing I will say that is a weird note to me in this is, and again, I haven't finished the game. I may not finish the game. That's me. I don't finish most games, not because I don't like them, because I get bored. I move on. But 14 hours, pretty good recommendation for me if I've stuck with it that long. But there is one scene where she meets this, and I don't know where this goes in the story. Maybe it goes to nowhere, or maybe I'm reading it right. But she meets this female mechanic, and it seems clear to me that there's this flirty going on. Which again, you guys, if you watch my channel, you know me, LGBT pro ally all good goddamn day long. I like diversity. I like progressiveness. But I think that and I think and I think Star Wars can handle it. And I think Star Wars should and does feel inclusive in that way. But I think in this particular case, it may be, number one, is the game doesn't seem like it needs a romance. Like, maybe she wants to go fuck people, although it's not that kind of game. Like Cyberpunk 2077, it's not like she has a sex drive that we see. So that aside, any romance probably feels a little weird. The fact that it's a romance with a human woman, not like an alien, which at least would be, okay, that's Star Warsy, that's kind of interesting. A human woman, black kind of butch, not very traditionally attractive human woman, feels like a bad note. Doesn't mean the game is bad, doesn't mean the game is woke. It's one note in a story that, at least for me, as progressive as I am, felt, even though I have no problem if Star Wars wants to tell a story about a lesbian woman hooking up with a human woman who's black and butch, and they go off and have a wonderful romantic time. I think that's great. But nothing in this game up until this point, until it happened, felt like that's what we were doing. And so it does feel like one of those things where it's like we're checking boxes. I'm sure half of that is because, as a straight male, I hear from my gay friends that it's like, oh my God, another fucking rom-com. You think we're not sick of seeing straight couples, right? So I have to assume part of it is like I'm more sensitive because I see it a lot now because it's time. And so there's a sort of a more frequency of it because it's been so non-existent, and I can appreciate that part. But even if you strip all of that part of it out, if you strip all the culture war stuff of it out, it just feels weird in this game. And I don't entirely love that. And I'm only mentioning it because I know that Kay Vass, the character, has gotten a lot of shit online from a bunch of these fucking mouth-breathing, far-right, sexy woman. And I just don't fucking like those kinds of people. I don't like their mentality. I think they're morons. But I can't mention this character as we're talking about her without also mentioning there is this kind of weird note. And maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But that aside, she's great. I don't know what people are talking about. Play the fucking game before you have an opinion. It's obnoxious. But anyway, except on the marketing. I guess that's why marketing puts it. I don't know. Point is, I like it a lot. I'm stunned I like it as much as I do, given how poor of an impression it made when I first played it, which I totally blame on the game. I made a whole video about it. I have 3 videos up on this right now. One is my initial impression where I said, don't fucking play this game. The video I put up yesterday was about how I was convinced to stick around, and in doing so, even though this is the problem with the game, not my problem, when I did stick around and find a number of certain mechanics that did not get communicated very well in the game, I was like, oh, okay, this is still not a great game, but it's a great fucking Star Wars game if you love Star Wars. And then there's this video, which is me basically saying, if you love Star Wars only, don't think you're going to love this. If you're like, Star Wars is okay, then don't buy this. Not for you. If you love the Star Wars, what a fun fantasy. It's been a long time coming. I was a kid playing Empire Strikes Back on the Atari 2600, little pixel shooting AT-ATs. They're not AT-ATs, they're AT-ATs. Playing Star Wars in the arcade. This is like stepping into a fantasy world. The only thing that would be better is if I, was playing it in VR, and even then I probably wouldn't care. It wears off. The point is, play it if you love the Star Wars. It's great for that. It's delightful. I love it. 8.5 out of 10. May the Force be with you, and unless you're an asshole, then go fuck yourself. Sun chips. Be well, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.